of test strategy and test case design, part two. We have covered, some basic importance of testing, types of software testings, which included in part one series. I think it's already recorded and available in YouTube. But just to give you a glimpse, I'll give you in just 5 minutes of information exactly what covered in previous session. Uh, So basically, we covered, about software importance, what exactly the failures or errors occur in case if any organization is not taking care of software testing properly, and some process maturity, like level 0 to 4, what uh, like what level need to follow by an organization so that the testing should be accurate, and it should be go live so that the product should not hamper anywhere. And we have discussed some of the testing methodologies like agile, embedded, which were used in different scenarios, web application and enterprises software type, and also discussed about the global market insight about of testing, like what is the standard in of the testing in application testing segment, or system integration, or BFSI, which is banking, finance, service, and insurance. So almost testing covering in every aspect, and it has a huge market level. And then we have covered like some of the two agendas of types of software testing and importance of testing. So rest everything we're going to cover in this session. So coming to testing terminology, we covered like verification, validation, which are the important terminologies where which cover the CRS, BRD, and SRS documents, and where some of the software artifacts where a lot of testers used to deal in daily testing environment, like what is a fault, failure, error, bug, and defect. And types of test activities where test case design, automation, and execution used to take place in a proper ascending order. And we covered some of the types of software testing where you can see the chart, like the manual testing, automation, and when the manual testing divides in a three categories: white, blacks, and gray box, where black box again covered like functional and non-functional. I think we all, covered almost all the types of software testing I shown with a mind map. The basic thing, like we have some types of non-functional testing which I didn't able to cover properly. Uh, Importance one is performance testing, where so this will guarantee that your site functions properly under all load conditions. Like this is activities for software testing, like the response time of website at a different network speeds, or like test your web application under typical and some maximum loads to see how it responses. For example, you can take the downloading, your hall ticket at the same time. Uh, that's the case you can give an example, or test your websites to see where it breaks when it's subjected to higher than normal loads during peak hours. Like book my show tickets at the same time when a movie releases. Then you can take an example where you can test the performance testing of particular website. And the same way, we have a usability testing, where usability testing is a required component of any web-based project which we are dealing, or any project which is in the market. It can be done by testers or with a small focus group, so that it can represent the web application for an intended audience, like to examine the website navigation, like all your website pages, menus, like buttons and links to different pages should be clearly visible and stable in any environment. That's which comes under usability testing. Examining the content, there should not be any spelling or grammatical mistakes. That all cover under usability testing. And when it comes to compatibility testing, make sure that your web application work satisfactorily on variety of devices. Like you can say, browser compatibility. You can say, uh, if the same website will appear differently in various browsers, you must make sure that your application is shown appropriately across all browsers, that like Java script as X or authentication, all are functioning accurately. So because with change in a operating system, the rendering of of elements such as buttons or text fields, and sometimes changes. So this compatibility testing ensures the website is suited to variety of operating systems which are available in the market, like Windows, Linux, or Mac, whatever, and the browsers like Firefox, Internet, and Safari, which is mostly used by common people. And we have another topic which I didn't mention here, which is a database testing. A lot of web application database, which is a key component now presently in this 21st century using. So here you see there are any issues appearing while running queries, when creating or updating or deleting data which is related to database or integrity. That will cover under database testing. Then we have the types of software testing, which includes smoke, sanity, regression. I think already I have given definitions and some basic understanding about this, which is covered in the part one. And in case if you need more attention, I already attached a PDF document which I'll share after this presentation. So the basic thing which we need to cover, the importance of test strategy and the test design. So before understanding this test strategy and test design, you need to understand about the testing documentation, what exactly this covers. If you see here, the testing documentation covers test plan, test case, scenarios of the test, the execution report, bug or a defect report, or a test data and a test strategy. And one of the most important thing, requirement traceability matrix, which is called RTM. Most of the organization use. So we just break out each component, one line definition, what exactly it covers and how it is used. So when it comes to test policy, so it's a high level documentation that describe the principles, method, and all the important testing goals of the organization, of any organization. So that it covers under testing policy, which is an internal part of a testing documentation. When it comes to test strategy, if you given one line answer, a high level document that identifies the test levels, or you can say types of test levels to be executed for the project, that is called a test strategy. And the test plan is something where a complete planning document which contains the scope or approach or resources available, scheduling, etc. of a testing activities. The planning of any testing thing which covers these all things will be comes under testing plan. Then we have a requirement test traceability matrix, which we're gonna speak more about in the further session. Like so, it's a document which connects the requirements of the test cases. That's in it's just a one-line answer about a requirements traceability matrix. And we have a test scenario, where test scenario is an like item or event of a software system which could be verified by one or more test cases. The scenario based test execution which you take. And when it comes to test cases, so it's a group of I can say input values, execution preconditions, or any expected execution of the post conditions, and also the results. So it is developed for a test scenario basically. And we have a test data. So a test data is something, a data which exists before a test is executed. It is used to execute the test case. And finally, we have some defect report and test summary report, which deals with defect report is something, a documented report for any flaw in software system which fails to perform its expected function. Like you business analyst is giving you a one requirement, but you are deviating from that requirement, that you can mention in the defect report or a bug report. And finally, we have test summary report, where test summary report is a very high level document which summarizes all these testing activities conducted as well as the test results, whatever you observe. While I was in learning in a testing phase, I was confused with these terms like coding error or defect and bug. So, just a small one-line answer if I give about these all things. So, a mistake which is in a coding is called, you can call it as an error. And if the error is found, by a tester or any test engineer, that can call it as a defect. But if the defect is accepted by the development team and they didn't notice, and after the development come into testing person and he noticed something that there is an issue, then it can be called as a bug. And if the build does not meet the requirement mentioned by the client, then it can be called as a failure. So there is a vast difference between each term, but when it comes to when you see in a one umbrella, it all looks appears a same thing, but each terminology differs in a situation. So I just want to give the differences between what error, defect, bug, and a failure. So then the next thing which we cover is important test plan. So let me just show you. Yeah. So the test strategy and the test design. Before understanding the test strategy, you need to understand about the test plan, what exactly it covers. So a test plan is a document that contain the scope, methods, and objective of a software testing. Because as you say, many companies deal with multiple projects. The project team needs to prepare one goal centric test plan, considering the specific requirements of each project. So regardless of the nature of any project, which can be support or a development, in a proper planning remains it remains a significant stepping stone of any testing process. Like, so if I summarizes a testing plan, it can be specific to one project, and the key or the all the key points which is relatable to the project will be considered in the test plan. And this is something which deals with a how part, like how the testing strategy or the testing phases or testing so- test cases or test execution goes. It changes, like the frequency is completely changes depends upon the inputs. That can be from a business requirement, or that can be from an architect or a software developer. And this test approach is at a project level, like it changes continuously depends upon the situation and the inputs provided by the a client or a business requirement. uh, and that when it comes to test strategy, so test strategy is a document consisting of details about the test design principles and regulations. Many organizations confuse between the test plan and the test strategy. If I say, if you consider a Microsoft or Google corporation where it deals testing in a vast area like in level 4, test strategy is completely different and test plan is completely different. But when it comes to single based project companies, if the company is dealing with only one or two minor projects, then that test strategy and test plan will combine, and there will be no difference. But when it comes to a bigger organization, test strategy is completely which deals with an organization level, but test plan is something which is at a project level. If you consider simple example of Google Maps is one project, Google Gmail is a one project, Google Sheets, everything is one project. If you consider as a one project, so each project has a test plans, different test plans, but the Google company itself has only one test strategy documentation, which covers all these test plans for different products. uh, if so, the test strategy basically deals at an organization level, like high level cater of things of any project, which deals with which ask questions like why this should be going in this way only. Where test plan deals how to be function. So there is a big difference. Like test plan completely deals how, and the test strategy deals why this should be taken. So test strategy includes many test types, or it basically divides in an environment basis or any artifacts to be produced, like by project summary or test plan, test cases at a high level. So I just show you about this one, where you can see the test strategy completely deals with the types of tests, the environment where exactly it's sitting on, artifacts like summary of the test cases, test plan, high level discussion with like senior developer, senior tester, project manager, and the testability conditions where whether the software is tested or not, the input which given by the developer or a tester is executing properly, and is it showing the output in a proper way according to the requirement. And it also covers the observability, like the output behavior of the program, which is it exactly following the same conditions which mentioned in the BRD document. Also the controllability, which deals with how many test cases, or till what extent the test cases to be covered, and what things need to be ignored. So these all will comes under the test strategy. We have a definition if you see. So it basically deals with a why thing. Uh, when it comes to test strategy components, I have some thing which need to mention, like components of test strategy, which is scope, environment, the business approach, the test environment specifications, test deliverables, how the deliverables going to be under test strategy document, tools which need to be covered in the particular project, the release management, like when this build need to release, the risk analysis, how the test engineer minimize or maximizes the condition depends upon the risk analysis, reviews and approvals, like who gonna review and who will be the approval for the final product. These all will cover under this test strategy component. We'll discuss one by one, like the scope environment, where so this is a fundamental step of the test strategy that shapes up the company's vision, any company's vision. Like in this step, testers assign a different phases for each project, maybe considering the timeline specified in the test plan. The roles and responsibilities are divided among the team, such as who should review or approve or use the document. That will comes under the scope environment of a test strategy component. The second thing, which is a business approach, like testers define testing process, including levels of testing, roles, responsibilities of each team member, but at an extensive range of these thoughts going through while preparing each step, like each step cases, as it developers avoid further mess. Like if developers are only concentrating on one key component, how to deliver the particular thing which asked by a PRD document or business analyst, but the testers need to go further and test in a different way, like unit testing or system testing or integration testing. Everything can be done by developer, but the further testing, which includes like usability or load testing, will covered under the testing phases. So these are the some responsibilities which cover under business approach in a testing perspective. So the third one, which is environment specification, where the environment stage includes all the information regarding test data, which is gathered by a test engineer. Like it contains the requirement necessary for creating a test data, and to set up the process for creating different environments. Like on the top of that, it should also feature the backup and restore strategy, to handle untimely code issues. Like suppose the server got crashed or anything which rises, like your that complete test data g- deleted, or any data which cannot be created backup. So that type of scenarios will comes under this environment section, where the test environment must be defined, like a number of environments, how many environments the testing strategy gonna include, which we used to do, like a quality stage, UAT, which is a user acceptance, and a final production. So it contains all the information like that. So, as I already mentioned, the backup and restore information must contain all the data which are data to back, which need to be restored, like test design techniques or test cases which developed by the tester. So another thing which is very important is testing deliverables. Like it mentioned what all deliverables will be provided as a part of performance testing of other project. Like you have a test run report or executive summary report, which includes all the deliverables you need to provide to a client. So that part comes under a test strategy component, like testing deliverables. The fifth one, which is very important, like testing tools, like you need to divide and mention all the type of tools required for the test execution. So it includes the usage of open source, that might be commercial automation, and some of the management tools as well. So all the tools which you're gonna use for a particular project or a particular organization level, that will comes under a testing tool. We have another release management, or you can say release control, uh, uh, where the plan is crucial for successful test execution. Like while planning where a release to be built, is it a new build, or to mention the resources from where one can get a production build. So the all the build control or the release control will be handled in this particular release management section. And sixth one, we have a risk analysis, where uh, like creating a risk analysis requires a lot of expertise of a highly experienced testing team, because risk is something which comes with the experience only. You have a very good product, but you can be generic, but you cannot specify the risk what exactly you're gonna receive until unless you have a very good functionality functionality about the product. Like you should have a each and every information about the functionality which you are dealing. So that that makes the risk very less, so that because you know each component, and because you build it from a scratch, so you know each component, so you can exactly document everything where the more risk will be available. So that part of risk analysis will come under this seventh part, risk analysis section. And finally we have reviews and approvals. Like once the software is developed and the testing is completed, that one part of testing is completed, but there is one above head need to be put, so that he can review and who can approve, so that the build product or the tested product should be going to the market. So that the part which the reviewers and the final approvals will comes under this seven section. So these are the basic test strategy components which covers everything on an organization level. So I just want to give a difference between test plan and test strategy, because a lot of people think that test strategy and test plan are same, but when it comes to a bigger organization level, as I mentioned, which deals with a multiple project, like if you simply say Equifax or Microsoft or Google, where the team is very large, and we have many projects where they deal with multiple projects at the same time. So test strategy for an Equifax will be same for all the projects, even like if it is deals with the finance, communication, or any technical related. The test strategy will be same, but the test plan will be differ from project to project. So, but in a smaller organization, like where only one or two projects are covering, then the test plan will include in the test strategy document. So these are some important key artifacts, regarding test strategy component. And we have a test plan which includes all these terms you might come through, like the test item, the features to be tested, features not to be tested, because you need to know that what feature need not to be tested also, because that kills your lot of time if you are not sure that what feature need to tested according to the requirement mentioned in the BRT. So the approach, how the testing should be done, the pass and fail criteria, which also comes under the testing plan, the deliverables, which we already discussed here, the tasks and environments, and all these components comes under the testing plan. So that's a difference between a test strategy and a test plan. which gives you brief idea about what exactly it deals with. So, and again after that we have some testing techniques where if you see the test design is just a process that describes how testing should be done in a complete manner. Like it includes all the process for identifying test cases by enumerating each step of the defined test condition. So that the techniques or the testing techniques which defined in the test strategy or on this plan is used for enumerating each and every step. So that's how like the test design will done by any test engineer. So these can be also divided in a in a different way. Like we have error guessing, boundary value analysis, decision table techniques, straight transition, equivalence pattern. If I go and explain, these are very big topics, but I just want to like if I give some information. So boundary value analysis, basically it deals with maximum, minimum, or inside outside boundaries, or typical values and error values. In the same way, like equivalent class partitioning, that allows you, gives the condition based inputs. So we can have a different session about this one, but when it comes to test strategy and test plan, we have something which need to be covered, like 1 second. The important topic, which is requirement traceability matrix, which I want to cover because this is a very important topic which includes in the test strategy document or any test plan document, like what it exactly deals with. So as you mentioned, it's a requirement traceability matrix is a tool that helps identify and maintain the status of the project requirement and deliverables which are mentioned in the mentioned by or mentioned in the BRD document or by a client or a requirement document. So it does so by establishing a thread for each component. Like if I show you the requirement example, if you can see, it includes all the information for any product, like BRD document, which is business requirement document, where they give you generalized idea of what exactly they are looking for. Like if you say product listing is something which they are looking for, and the second module, which is payment module. So once the BRD is prepared, we it will go to the functional requirement document where the developers or the architect will use to develop by what exactly needs to include in this. Like if I mention like about product listing here, so that will come under sort by and filters, that these functionalities can be used for this product listing. And the same way, like payment module, I can include credit card or any UPI payment method or any bank transfer. That will also comes under functional requirement document. And then we have our test case document where we used to deal with every scenario for each uh, like product mentioned. Like for product listing, suppose the functional requirements are these, like sort by and filters. For sort by, we have test cases written from 1 to 4. So we go ahead and completely test the scenarios by using test cases, test documentation, and reports, where we used to deal with how it is started, how it can be finished, is any defects which can be reported to the developer back. Everything will comes under this test case document. It's just an example. We have our own requirement traceability matrix. uh, our organization, if you see, this is, it depends, like every organization has its own requirement traceability matrix. So this is ours, where which we covered in a generic way. What is a Jira ID, what is the description of any particular testing documents, who gonna deal with it, what is the environment, or what are the testing relate dates, like quality, if I'm planning for 21st August, and stage I'm planning for 24, and the production should go by 26. So everything will be written here, so that it covers every piece of information which is required for in any project or any product information. Like if I see the business analyst who gonna cover is and the API resource or the API head who gonna deal with this one, or the UI resource and quality. Everything covers under here, and this will gives you the functional requirement, the test scenario, or what are the test cases you're gonna cover, and any new functional test cases which can be included apart from the previous one which is not mentioned by a client requirement, the regression test cases which can be mentioned, because regression is something which you need to take care, because if you are developing any part, it should not affect the existing function or part element. So that one should be tested very rigorously, which all comes under the regression test cases. And finally, we have a defect summary where all the defects will be mentioned, particularly bug reports, everything will be mentioned here. So I'm just not putting any information because as security issues. Just I'm just want to show you how exactly this will reflect. So you have an Jira ID, you have a description mentioned here. The priority, it can be high, medium, or low. The quality or developer status, like whom gonna do this one, and finally the status and the comments if you have any. Then so after this testing plan and other things covered, we have one of the flow chart which I just want to show you about what exactly the software test design techniques covered. If you see, divided into static and a dynamic, where you have a lot of informal reviews, walkthroughs, technical reviews, and inspection, which is completely related to BRD document, where initially when the functional requirement comes from a client, these all are things gonna takes place. The analysis or the data flow, where the control flow should be there, everything, the structured based statements or decisions or conditions, everything will cover under a dynamic structure thing. And you can see I already mentioned some specific testing design techniques, which is equivalence partitioning and boundary value. These are some important on a testing perspective, which I coded in a black color. So the flowchart gives you just a good example of what exactly the software test design technique look like. And I have one more flowchart which I just want to show how this the master test plan go, like organized by test phase. If you see the test plan, where developers used to develop unit test, integration, and the system acceptance, everything. And after that, when it comes to testing person or a testing part, you have see test design specifications will mention, test case specification will mention, like it can be 1 to n number. So and then we have some test procedure specifications where all the test cases can be included in one procedure part, so to just cut down the information. And finally the execution will takes place, and which can be reported in a test logs, that which deals with the test reports, summary report, which we all talked about. And after that, the test plan execution summary report will give you a brief idea what exactly you covered in the testing strategies. So that covers something. I think all the importance of test strategy and test design techniques. Mm, Let me see if I have any. One second. Uh, So yeah, that's it. Like the importance of test strategy and test case design. Actually, if I broke it into many parts, it has the strategy and test case designs are many, which I can mention. But I just took some key points on an organization level or any project level, so that you get a brief idea of what exactly the difference between a test plan, or a test strategy document, or how the test case designs or test engineer used to plan when one requirement comes to him. So I think that's all for the importance of test strategy. If summarize this a complete test strategy, so it's just like a mirror of to a QA activities for any testing life cycle. So because testers needs to refer this document carefully before following any testing conditions or any testing process when it approaches the release date, because developers are in hurry to give the product a requirement which is mentioned by BA, but testers need to be very careful while testing each and every components, like because once you are the only person one where the product is completely rely on, like once the product goes from your end, it means there will be no other person who gonna test. So you can be called as a gatekeeper. That's what the my seniors or Koti mentioned when we used to get a training. So that's like if I highlight some test design techniques, uh, more important in a very large projects, but when it comes to a small project or product based, you can mix it, the test strategy and test document in a single, and yeah, that's it. Like we have some summary reports. I just gave some example, like test engineers with a good theoretical knowledge, like very important for any project which you are dealing with it. You should be well aware of all the updated testing techniques which is in the market, uh, and so that you test the product or any particular requirement very carefully and to the best. So that's an end of this concept. Uh, I think I have so a lot of frequently asked questions about this one. I think I already like covered everything. Apart from these frequently asked questions, if you have any other questions, you can shoot out. Like I'm sorry, like last time I I took a lot of time explaining one topic, so this time I just closed it in a in a. So if you have any questions like regarding test strategy or test case design techniques, apart from the frequently asked questions which you covered, anything you can like.
Yeah, it's a very good session, Sridhar. I think if no one has any questions, we can stop the recording.
Sure, sure. Yeah.